I want to tell you about a woman named Maya. Maya had been on tirzepatide for 7 months. She had lost 41 pounds. She had done the work, the injections, the side effects, the emotional recalibration, all of it. And then she went to a holiday dinner, and her aunt leaned across the table and said, loudly enough for the whole table to hear, "You're not even eating. Is that the medication?" Maya smiled. She said something vague. She changed the subject. And then she spent the next 3 weeks repeating that comment to herself on a loop. If you've recognized yourself in that story in the first 10 seconds, stay with me. Because today we're talking about GLP-1 stigma, both the kind that comes from other people and the kind that's a lot closer to home. Welcome to After the Noise. I'm Dr. Jen Bradley, licensed psychologist, and this is where we talk about everything your GLP-1 is changing besides the number on the scale. Today's topic is one I hear about constantly, from women in my clinical work, from my Substack community, from my own experience on this journey. It's stigma. And I want to go somewhere with it that most conversations don't go. Because the comment at the dinner table, that's only half of what you're carrying. Let's start with the external version, because it's the one that's most visible and the one that's easiest to name. The cultural narrative around GLP-1 medications is still being written. And honestly, a lot of what's circulating right now is medically inaccurate and interpersonally unkind. The idea that this is cheating, that you didn't earn the weight loss, that if you just had enough willpower, you wouldn't need a drug, that people who lose weight this way took a shortcut, and that somehow invalidates everything you've done. I want to say this as plainly as I know how to say it. That narrative is not based in science. Obesity has a significant biological component. It has been consistently under-researched and undertreated for decades, in large part because the culture decided that weight was a character issue rather than a physiological one. GLP-1 medications work by addressing the biology. Using them is not a shortcut. It is treatment. Full stop. But here's the thing I've noticed, both in my own experience and in the women I work with. Knowing something intellectually and not being affected by it emotionally are two completely different things. You can understand that the criticism isn't based in fact and still feel it land. You can know that the comment at the dinner table says more about the person who made it than about you, and still find yourself eating less, apologizing more, bracing for the next one. The external stigma is loud. It is real, and it creates genuine psychological stress that deserves to be acknowledged. But it is not the heaviest thing you're carrying. Here's the part most conversations about GLP-1 stigma never get to. The research on weight stigma has documented something that is rarely talked about openly. The most damaging form of weight-related stigma isn't what other people say. It's what you've come to believe about yourself. Psychologists call this internalized weight bias. And what it means in plain language is this: the messages a woman receives over a lifetime, from her culture, her family, her doctors, years of media, decades of diet industry messaging, eventually becomes the messages she tells herself. The judgment stops requiring a voice from outside. It finds a home in her own inner monologue. I see this all the time, and I've experienced it myself. It looks like losing 40 pounds and still apologizing for what's on your plate. It looks like reaching a goal weight and immediately scanning for the next problem. It looks like accepting a compliment with a deflection, "Oh, I still have a long way to go," before the other person even finishes the sentence. It looks like a quiet, persistent whisper that says, "You wouldn't have needed the medication if you'd just been more committed." That last one. I want to sit with that one for a second. because I hear it in some form from nearly every woman who finds After the Noise. Not the overt version. Most women reject that framing immediately when they hear it stated plainly. But the subtle version, the one that doesn't announce itself, the one that shows up as an apology or a justification or a reluctance to fully own her progress without a caveat attached. This is not a character flaw. It is the entirely predictable result of decades of messages about what a woman's weight means about her. Messages so consistent, so early, so woven into the fabric of how she learned to evaluate herself that they stopped feeling like messages a long time ago. They feel like facts. They are not facts. Okay, so let me say something directly because I think it needs to be said without questioning. You do not owe anyone an explanation for your medical choices. Not your aunt, not your coworker, not the comment section. Not the friend who said, "I could never do that." Not the family member who keeps bringing it up at dinner. Not the stranger on the internet who has very strong opinions about a medication that they have never taken for a condition they have never lived with. You are allowed to make medical decisions in consultation with a provider or in consultation with your own body and your own history without convening a jury first. Now, I know that you don't owe anyone an explanation is useful, but it isn't a strategy. So let me give you something more practical. One of the frameworks I use in my work, and this comes up a lot in the After the Noise community, is something I call who gets a vote. Here's the core idea. There's a difference between caring and understanding. Many people in your life genuinely care about you. They are invested in your well-being. They would be distressed if you were hurting. That care is real and it matters. But caring about someone is not the same as understanding their experience. The people who care about you most may have absolutely no framework for what it is like to live in a body that has struggled with weight, to have tried the things that are supposed to work and watch them not work, to take a medication that changes your relationship with hunger and then spend months navigating everything that change brings to the surface. When someone who cares about you but doesn't understand your experience offers an opinion about your choices, whether it's the medication, your body, what you're eating, how much you've lost or haven't lost, they are offering you a vote from outside the experience. Their concern may be genuine, and their vote, because of what they don't know, deserves to carry less weight than they probably think it does. So here's how I think about it. The people who both care about you and understand this experience, who have lived in a complicated relationship with their body, who know what it costs to be in a culture that treats weight as a moral issue, who understand from the inside what this journey actually asks of a woman, those voices deserve a meaningful vote. Seek them out. Wait what they say seriously. The people who care about you but don't understand the experience, genuine concern, limited knowledge, deserve a smaller vote. You can receive their care without handing them authority over your choices. The people who neither care about you nor understand the experience, the internet comment, the stranger's glance, the colleague who said something over lunch, do not deserve a vote at all. And then there is your own lived experience. The only one that has actually been inside this body, navigating this journey, making these decisions. Your experience gets the deciding vote. Every single time. So what do you actually do with this? The next time you feel the pull to justify, apologize for, or defend your choices, pause before you do. Ask yourself one question. Who is asking this of me? And why do they get a vote? Not as an act of hostility, as an act of discernment. There's a difference. You don't have to rehearse arguments. You don't have to win anyone over. You don't have to manage anyone else's discomfort with the decisions you've made about your health. What you can do, and what will serve you far more than any perfect comeback, is get clearer about whose opinions you are actually allowing to shape how you see yourself. Because the external comment is a nuisance. The internal version of that comment, running quietly on repeat, is the one that does real damage. And the way to quiet it isn't to argue back. It's to stop granting it authority it was never supposed to have. You are not a defendant in a case other people filed against your body. You are the author of your own life, and you get to decide which voices you bring into the room when you're writing it. If this resonated with you, the full article is on my Substack. That's also where I publish every week on the psychological side of the GLP-1 journey, the identity shifts, the emotional work, the relationship friction, everything the medication surfaces that most programs never address. And if you want to go deeper, the link in the description will take you to my newsletter, where every week I take these ideas and give you one clear step forward. That's where the real work happens. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment if this landed. And I'll see you next week.